Remember those days of the pandemic? Quarantine, a word that evokes vivid memories of banana bread, binge watching, and pretending to do Zoom yoga in pajamas. But let's wind the clock back to its medieval roots when quarantine was less about Tiger King and more about not dying horribly from the plague. The word quarantine comes from the Italian phrase quaranta giorni, which literally means 40 days. Why 40? Great question. Because in the 14th century, when the Black Death was sweeping across Europe like an unwanted house guest who brought rats instead of wine, the Venetians had a light bulb moment. What if we just don't let infected ships dock for a while? So they made arriving ships wait offshore for 40 days to make sure no one on board was coughing up a lung or breaking out into buboes. If they made it through the 40-day health check, congrats, welcome to Venice. If not, well, they didn't need docking privileges anyway. And thus, quaranta giorni became quarantina and then it turned into quarantine. 40 days of socially distant limbo. You may ask why 40 and not 30 or 50. It wasn't just arbitrary. The number 40 had mystical, biblical, and hygienic appeal. Jesus fasted for 40 days, it rained 40 days and nights during the flood, and honestly, after 40 days in the open sea with 14th century hygiene, if you didn't have the plague, you probably deserved a medal. Also, scientific rigor wasn't exactly in vogue in the 1300s, so 40 was a nice, round, holy-ish number that sounded official. Kind of like when you say, I'll be ready in 5 minutes when you actually mean 20. Let's talk about quarantine's less glamorous cousins. Isolation comes from the Latin insula or island, because when people were sick, they were metaphorically or literally put on an island. It's the original you can't sit with us. And Lazaretto, a quarantine station or hospital named after Saint Lazarus, patron saint of lepers and social distancing before it was cool. Fast forward to the 20th century and quarantine has evolved from floating offshore in plague-ridden boats to working from home in sweatpants while trying to make sourdough starters behave. We went from avoiding fleas to avoiding coffers at Costco. So quarantine from medieval health policy to modern day cabin fever, it's a word with 700 years of baggage, literally. And remember, if you ever feel tired of the word, just know the Venetians had to spend 40 days on boats without Wi-Fi or Netflix. Perspective, people. Thanks.